What was your initial reaction to the news of the new town and their school shooting?
Well, every time there's a school shooting, it just, even though it happens, there's still just disbelief and sadness. And you just wonder why anybody would do that. You know, why anybody would hurt kids, why anybody would hurt anybody. But so, you know, just the initial, I think what everybody feels, there's that sense of disbelief, that shock, and then it goes to just grief and trying to imagine how the people in that community feel, how the parents of all kids, you know, and then you think about your own children. I mean, there's just a series of events that go through your head.
Did the district hold a meeting immediately after about security?
We have actually had several meetings. There was a meeting held immediately, like within probably a week, with administrators, so the principals and other administrators, the police department, the fire department, District 15 administrators. The mayor was actually there, so we did have a large meeting. It was held here very soon afterward.
Did you hear from any parents concerning the security? Like, did parents contact you and talk about their concerns with our security at the school?
Yes, I believe I received probably 2, maybe 3 phone calls after that with some concerns about the safety of our buildings.
Did anyone suggest arming teachers?
No. I have heard that that's been a suggestion, but I have not had anyone say that to me, that we should arm our teachers. No.
Has the school taken that seriously, arming teachers? Have they considered it at all? Okay. And what are new security measures that we should expect?
Well, I think you're at West, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've already experienced the additional. There's an additional security guard in the building. I assume you've had announcements, or there's been some kind of communication with you, right? What have you been told?
We have to have our IDs on at all times,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't go through the freshman tower in the mornings anymore.
We've locked both buildings down to 2 entrances and exits, the front and back door. So that's part of why the tower is no longer available, and we have more security in terms of looking at that. But as we've looked ahead to the future, we're considering changes in some of the currently, for example, you have at West, coming in the back door, one set of doors really that you get through to get where you need to be. We're talking about improving or increasing the barriers so that there are 2. If you've ever been to, say, Parkland or MMS, did you go to Parkland?
Yes.
So as you were coming in from the circle, coming in that front door, there's the outside door, and then when you get onto the inside, you have to also buzz in, so that there are 2 barriers to getting in. And so we're having those kinds of discussions. How do we create more barriers? Let me tell you one thing that made a big impression on me when we met with the police department. It's very difficult to figure out what somebody might do. How do you prevent every possible situation? Columbine, students perpetuated the damage. Out in Newtown, it was the relative of an employee. So how do you figure it out? How do we figure out how to protect you when there's so many different possible scenarios that could happen? So over the years, the very first school shooting, I was a teacher, and it was Lori Dan, and it was, I believe, in Winnetka. and it was an elementary school. And that's the very first school shooting, and it happened in the state. And so that's when schools started saying, what can we do? So we started then putting measures in place, like lockdowns, which you guys have probably had your whole educational career, a lockdown drill of some kind. And so you get to a point and you're like, what can we do? And so the police department, the police chief, Chief Jones, said, in every situation, once police arrive, once help gets there, it stops. Either the shooter commits suicide, or the police take the shooter out, or it just stops. So he said, what you need to talk about and what you need to do is figure out, what we need to do as a community and around our schools is figure out how to slow it down. How do you slow down an intruder? So that gave me a sense of empowerment, because we can talk about that. We can put in 2 levels of buzzers. We can put in cameras, and there are things that we can do to slow the process down. So that's how I have been finding a little bit of empowerment in not being able to anticipate what every person is going to do, but being able to at least slow the process down so that help can get there. And so I guess, I don't know if that really answered the question that you asked me, but that's kind of, that's what has, at least I feel like there's something we can do to slow it down.